begins rolling in through from the night. Been awake 4 damn days, still ain't nothing right. As I look at my wife so peaceful, I know it's just a matter of time when she wakes again and I hear her lose her mind. It's hard enough having the kids taken away. For the lies they spread have made it this way. I know you won't hear the truth, and that is not your fault. So I've been writing these songs to put in this vault. Every day without you is so friggin' long. Looking at the calendar, I wonder where has the time G1. All I do is bury my head in books to one day get back my kid they took. I never imagined this would be my life. We loved you so much, we never let you go. But when they came for you, I didn't know what to do. Waving from the back window is what I saw. My little girl, the caseworker, taking off. It wasn't fair, no one cared. That's what happened the day I lost. Why did this have to be us? There was nothing wrong, in God we trust. I challenge you, God, why is it me? He answers back, who would you rather it be? I don't know quite how to answer. Is it a challenge or is it an answer? Regardless of the choice, I still miss that voice that used to say, Daddy, I love you, good night. God, please do me a solid. You have all the worldly knowledge. Does she remember my name? Is she in pain? Will I ever see her again? I'm still asking the question every day, just waiting for him to shout out and say, but I don't hear a damn thing. I see an empty swing, and back in the books is where I'll be. Every day with and without you is so friggin' long. Looking at the calendar, I wonder where has the time G1. All I do is bury my head in books to one day get back my kid they took. My kid they took. Every day without you is so friggin' long. Looking at the calendar, I wonder where has the time G1. All I do is bury my head in books to one day get back my kid they took. I never imagined this would be my life. We loved you so much, we never let you go. But when they came for you, I didn't know what to do.
The children in our country are being made to be the victim of a situation they are not involved, and then sent to a foster home where they again are reintroduced to trauma of being the odd ball. Our courts are contaminated with young, inexperienced caseworkers and polluted with bribes, high-priced bonuses for speedy adoption of terminated parents, and judges who don't practice law with the Constitution in their sights. This is a problem. George Washington never thought of children as pawn in the game of freedom and American values, and never had he wanted to sell them. They were from his maker, his creator. Our children are being run down for no other reason than the profits being made in some way. Somehow these government agencies make money hand over fist day in and day out. They have you go to classes that they are billing for, and there is no viable reason for you to attend. Yet when you hear an update, CPS tells you that you're further away from when you started. Reunification is your goal, not theirs. And after you go through 12+ months of grueling, painstaking classes and meetings, all while getting the slimmest amount of time to visit your child, and even worst, you are always supervised, never alone again with your child. It's awful. How do they feel, do you think?
Where's the outrage? Why is nobody standing up for these families being torn apart by CPS?
Please don't tell me you're going to put all your bets on this superhero. You grown-ups are supposed to be coming to his rescue. Stop ignoring this problem. There is nothing more I can say to any of you. Please fight CPS and help those who have lost so much they can help themselves.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPS.com is leading the way. Join us.
Is this way? Step away. CPS ain't taking no one. They are taking our kids every day. A child a minute, no one has a thing to say. For those who have been isolated, don't be worried, you have a voice today. So listen up everyone, here is the story. Child Protective Services is real. CPS is what they call it. They want our kids because it fills a lot of people's wallet. We all think it won't be us. We say when they come we will be so tough. It all sounds good when there's no one to take them. But when they come, your voice gets to breaking. Stay calm, step away. CPS ain't taking no one today. We are educated. Stay calm, step away. CPS, you need to leave. I know the tricks up your sleeve. You can't do what you're trying to do. We've done our homework. Don't do a damn thing without a warrant. You no longer will steal our kids this way. And the Punisher have come for the calling. They are giving us the CPS warning. Their voice is loud and clear. We stop losing our kids this year. Tiff wants to fight the entire planet. She is tired of our kids being taken, god damn it. She's been fighting CPS for 30 years, bringing children home from this disgusting mess. The Punisher is screaming out loud, abolish CPS and tear it down. I want all our kids to come back. Look at all those kids' pictures held up like thin tags. Together we are stronger than we need. We will tear down CPS with high speed. We will do so much being together. Birds of a feather fly together. So watch out CPS, here we come. Picking you one by one. We promise to bring back the family and prosecute the caseworkers unhandily. Give us back the kids you have taken. Tiff and the Punisher sending you all on a vacation. The one with bars in the windows and the only games you play are on Nintendos. Corruption in courts, here we come. We won't stop until it's done. You judges need to learn what you stand for. This is Tiff and the Punisher warrior, and we cry out to all of you out there. We need support for a cause that many don't care. All children are being stolen way too often. So CPS, we plan on doing the stopping. Stopping.
What's up, Tiff?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going well. It's daytime.
I know it feels a
Daytime
little
in a
weird.
snowstorm outside, but we're doing this because we got a pretty cool guest today. Actually, we have
All right.
we got Miss Connie Reguli coming out here with us. Finally, she's been so busy we haven't been able to grab her, but she called me this morning and she said, "Hey, let's do this." So let's get her out here before we lose this.
All right.
But she's busy.
Yeah.
Oh, Connie, how are you? She is. She is.
He's back in outer space here. Like,
Yes, she's drifting away. It's all right. I'm in the city, so
yeah, where we are. And yes, it was a good morning this morning when I'm like, oh, I see another message from, I'm just going to give it off. Yeah, so,
No,
you know,
great.
and honestly, I'll tell you a little secret. Early morning is probably the best time to reach me if you have something to say. So by the
I'm gonna
time,
write that down in the notes.
9 o'clock rolls around, usually there's a dozen things going on.
Off to the races.
Off to the races. Off to the races.
Wait, what's been going on?
In my head, it's like, if you could be inside my brain, like you would probably,
Right? I can only
get so
imagine.
busy. It's like a roller coaster all the time. Like, you know, you'd get a lot of motion sickness if you were inside my little brain. So it's moving. I mean, I go from, you know, this is I have a pretty narrow bridge, and that narrow bridge is child welfare, right? Like that's a narrow bridge, and you know, people, you know, and I have a lot of friends who are very active politically, and you know, Trump supporters, and you know, there's voter stuff over here, and there's immigration over here, and there's, you know, there's the WHO, right, and then there's you said, and I'm just like, look, my bridge is very narrow, but within that very narrow bridge, there is so much complexity that is so ignored, and the results are devastating. That if I don't do it, and we don't do it, and you don't do it, it's not going to happen. So, you know, I have been in this for 30 years, and I really just started as an attorney, just trying to do my job as an attorney, just trying to work. And then I started seeing how twisted and crooked and corrupt and weird it was. And that's when I really became an expert in it, really looking at everything from, you know, what are the patterns just in the legal system, the secret court orders, all of that, to the funding, to the legislation at the state level, legislation at the federal level. So, you know, you can't do everything in this revolution that we're in, and you've got to pick a topic, you've got to pick a lane, but man, you got to dig in and go for it.
There's so many ways that you could stray. If you don't, it's very easy to get, one day you can, I'm sure for you especially, I mean, it's just with us with getting people with topics, like you're talking about Joe down the road, and the next thing you know, it's 10 minutes later and you're talking about some financing that came through in Alabama for some sort of something. So it's got to be tough to stay on point, because there's just so much complexity to the things that you're going into.
Right.
It's not just standard. Here you go. They're just taking this money. Well, where does this money come from? Where do these kids going? Who's this going to? Where, like there's just so many parts and pieces. Like it's gotta
Yeah,
be
and
tough for them.
and I really started in the trenches, right? I mean, I didn't start at this at an academic level. I didn't start at this from a administrative level. I didn't start at this from a government level. Now, I was a government prosecutor for criminal for the prosecutor's office at first, but when I went into private practice, I mean, I really came into the child welfare system in the trenches. I mean, walking alongside parents and children who got caught up in this mess, everything from medical kidnap to truancy to whatever, right? And so my view, I look at myself as being down in the trench looking up. Okay. So as opposed to what we've got, unfortunately, is all these people who are up here looking down. And by the time they try to look down, the only thing they see when they look down is numbers. Okay. And and I confront them with that all the time. I mean, like, you need to talk to the people. You'd say the stakeholders are Lutheran Children's Services and youth villages and Omni and these crazy privatized multi-million dollar corporations. I'm like, I'm telling you, the stakeholders are the parents and the children who are walking down in that trench,
Mhm.
and trying to make their way through it. So so I start down here at the very bottom and I look up and I'm like, okay, so what is going on above us? So we have state legislation, we have the court system, we have federal legislation, we have money, and of course this huge money thing that sort of covers the whole thing. But when you really start doing that and you start comparing, it's like none of them know what's going on at the other level. So,
Right.
the people at the federal level in Congress, they don't know what's going on at the state level. The state level doesn't even know what's going on at the federal level. And then to be quite honest, they don't even know what happened 3 years ago.
Right.
like we just came from Washington DC in January, and this is with the Family Forward Project, which is my Facebook group. This is one of the main things that we really focus on. It's like, how do we develop grassroots activists? How do we get people to engage, to be activated, to go to tell what's going on to the people who are writing the laws that are controlling the money? And so I always like it when we have, one or two or three new people with us. We have a little standard group, myself, Terry LaPointe, Kathleen Arthur, Rachel Bruno. We have a few other people that have gone multiple times, but then we always have one or two new ones. So this year we had two new people. We had Tracy from Kentucky, and we had Bailey from Illinois. And Bailey, I don't know if you know her story, but they threatened to take her son, who was diagnosed with cancer, and forced her to amputate his leg to give her kids back. She brought her son. She brought her son in a wheelchair, and this child, bless his heart. I mean, she humored him a lot along the way, and he had the game system with him to kind of keep him busy. But I mean, he is a walking example of what has to happen to these parents. And it was quite the attention getter, when we saw congressmen walking in the hallway. So she went with us. And then Tracy's a grandparent in Kentucky where, she thought she was going to be a relative placement, and they were working for that stabilized placement. And then they turn around and accuse her and her husband of criminal child abuse. And, now she's facing criminal charges just to stop it. So these
Jeez.
stories are critical and important. When I talk to them, I talk to them a little bit broader about what the funding is and what the changes are. So we had a really active, we always set appointments in advance. We had about 35 appointments. Plus, we several of us stayed through the inauguration, and during the inauguration activities, there were several meet and greets and open house, and so we were able to go to Joni Ernst, Katie Britt. Of course, my Tennessee people, I was able to go to theirs, and then I went to a couple Maha parties, which were great. So, so activating people to get them to engage with us is very important.
Yeah. Well, this is what we talk about all the time, is how is it that you get the people that have been isolated, they've been shoved down, they've been put in the back, they don't have a voice anymore because they're so depressed, they're so broken, they're so everything. They don't want to come out. Their families have abandoned them, their friends are gone, because it's almost like you can catch CPS. The second they come and take your kids, it's like, oh, he got CPS, we're not going to have any part of them anymore. And It's true, they abandon you, you're gone. How do you draw these people out? Like, what is it going to take to draw these people out? Like we try to do that with here, like I'm trying to do it with the apparel, with all the stuff. I mean, what I've done for the past couple of years, but like, what else can we do to make people say, look, you got to come out of that isolation. You got to fight with us, because otherwise this is just going to continue to happen.
Well, so a couple things. So first of all, and thank you for asking that question, because that is very important and critical. And I have a lot of people still that I want to speak out and they just won't, I mean, I have that same struggle, even though I'm right there with them, right? Like I'm like right there beside you.
Right. You go through it just like them. Correct.
So I still have people in that area, and I understand that. And we have, and there's a couple things. First of all, if you're in the middle of the process, there's no doubt that that there's retaliation, right? There's people are like, I'm afraid I'm going to be retaliated. I'm like, you are. But on the other hand, it's exposed and their hands exposed. And at some point, it's not going to get any worse for you than it already is, right? Like, how can it be any worse than it is?
Right.
So the one thing we do have to examine is, I mean, we know that 85% of the kids that are removed are there under neglect. And we also know that they want to keep kids that are adoptable, so we have those challenges. I mean, there are some parents who have something in their life that is a stumbling block. Okay. That's just the truth. Some people are, maybe it's a domestic violence relationship, maybe it's housing instability, maybe it's employment instability, maybe it's substance abuse. Okay. So to those people, I say, I get it. You're not a perfect parent, but most likely, unless you are physically or sexually abusing your children need you to be a parent. They need you. They love you. I mean, I didn't grow up in a perfect household. My stepfather was an alcoholic, he tried to kill my mom in the house. I mean, in today's world, I would have been taken. I have no doubt in my mind, just because of that situation that I went through. But, I love my mom, and I mean, she ended up being a successful business person. And, so if you're in an imperfect place, it's okay. Let's, and that's one thing that through the Family Forward Project on Facebook, our group is pretty supportive, most of them, not everybody, because there's 19,000 of them. And so they're not all perfect people either, but, get a little caustic once in a while, but generally, reach out. If it's not there, there are places that are going to support you and want you to be in a better place so that you can parent and have a relationship with that child. And so it's okay to not be perfect. All right. So that's one issue, but you've got to be willing to do that. Okay. If it's a domestic violence relationship, if it's substance abuse, you've got to figure out how to make those situations better. But there are a lot where the removal comes from either, let's say, a medical kidnapping, like with Bailey, or truancy, which, the truancy cases were teenagers. And it's like, okay, so you can't force your teenager to go to school. If you get in a fight with your teenager, what are they going to do? They're going to report you for abuse, right?
Yeah, right. So, it's a no-win situation.
Yeah. So, so kind of sort out why you're there. But here's what we know. Here's what you and I and Tiffany, what we know from where we sit. We know the tricks. Okay. We know the patterns. We know what they're going to do to try to make it harder and more difficult for you. We know they're going to lie in reports. We know that they're not going to acknowledge when you do accomplish something. We know
Mhm.
that even if you have a potential relative placement, somebody who's going to help you, recover, that they're going to block that. We know that. We know that you more than likely have an incompetent attorney, unfortunately, because there's not a lot of attorneys out there like me, right? So
Right.
we know that your legal representation is probably subpar. We know that they might block you and not have you be able to speak. Okay. So we know some of those things. So the way we handle those things is different. One of them is the education process. So, the training videos I'm doing, like I've got one on preparing witnesses for the courtroom, right?
Mhm.
So it's to help you understand what is cross-examination, what is hearsay, what can you say, what can't you say, so you don't feel so totally like you're in outer space, like this picture behind me, you know? I've
Yep.
got one of my trainings is called The Politics and the Players, because you walk in the courtroom and all you see all these people. There's just people all around you. You don't even know who those people are, what their role is. You
Right.
don't even know who's making the decisions. Like is a judge making the decision, or is a guardian ad litem making it, or is DCS making the decision? You don't even know that. And the whole process, the whole law of juvenile court process and dependency process is unbelievably complex. Even very sophisticated attorneys don't even understand it, and people think like it should be easy. It's very complex. When can you intervene? When can you do discovery? What kind of protective orders do you have to have on records? I mean, there's attorneys just don't even know how to do it. Okay. So that, and then finally, I want to say, if you're in a situation, ask questions. Ask those people questions, right? Like a grandmother called me the other day and she said, they told me that I'm 65. I can't have my granddaughter because I would be too old to adopt her. And I'm like, first of all, there's no law that makes you too old to adopt. And secondly, you can do permanent guardianship. You don't even have to adopt her in the first place.
Mhm.
So, all of that, and I hope that all kind of made sense, but all of
Mhm.
that to say that if for anybody who hears this or is listening, or you're in the process of CPS, then, this is how you need to kind of function to be able to get your story heard. If it's over and you've lost your children, and I'm so sorry for you, because I think termination of parental rights is one of the most horrendous things. And, even the American Bar Association has this initiative to end terminating parental rights. But if you're there, if you're in that situation, then just you sit down and evaluate it, because many of those parents, and again, after 30 years of experience, I've seen that you may have another child in the future. You may have another child. If you're young enough, if you're able, if you can find a relationship, you may have another child. What we want to do is, number one, protect you as a parent in the future. And number two, prepare you to sort of help you if your children come back to you when they turn 18, which some kids do.
Mhm.
Um, I too started a little over 30 years ago with my own termination. Um, and I said this to Darren before. You have to learn their pattern, right? Because I know their pattern so well. I knew everything they were going to do, everything they were going to say. I knew everything. And that's how I have beat them. Now, I don't always win, but it's not me, right? Because, like you, I prepare my people for the courtroom, how to cross, same thing you do, and tell people you have to be prepared, hope for the best.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Well, and ultimately, some of the laws need to be changed. I mean, like the termination of parental rights laws, I think are horrible. really, if you look at the U.S. Supreme Court cases on parental rights, there's some very good case law about parental rights. And having been in the law arena for so long, I have watched the termination of parental rights cases over 3 decades. And back in 2005, 6, 7, 8, now remember, in 5, 6, 7, 8, we were only 10 years into ASFA, which is, of course, the Adoption and Safe Families Act, which puts the bonus check on every kid's head. But back in 5, 6, 7, 8, when we had a whole bench book on the termination of parental rights cases, over and over and over and over, the Court of Appeals was reversing the termination of parental rights. And they would say things like, a dirty house is not enough to take somebody's kids away. Or even if somebody has a problem with alcohol, there's no proof in the record that the alcohol was harmful to their children. It's harmful to them and they could be better, but that because of the alcohol abuse that they harm their children. So I even saw a fractured rib case from back then saying, there are other reasons and other explanations. And I saw the pendulum flip, right? The little justice statue that you see, that holds the little arms out, right? And, is a balancing scale, is not ever balanced, right? It is always tilted. It's always tilted. It's never balanced. And so you have to say, what's in the arms of the halls of justice that causes that shift in balance? And how do I attack it? And how do I deal with it?
And what do we do with that imbalance? I mean, what do you say to people? Like, you automatically know, and like Tiffany said, you already know it's not fair. It's not going to be right. I mean, how do you grease somebody to just hold on, prepare yourself? Because ultimately, it goes all the way back to the point of, don't let them in when they come to your house. Don't let them in without a warrant, right? Like, that's the very first thing. But at that point, you're already too late. Like, if you've let them in and they're in the system, and then they've you guys you've made contact, you're too late. Like, you've already made the mistake. You've already made too many mistakes that you're going to lose your kids. And there's nothing that you can do about it. The path for you to terminate is there. It's period. Okay. It's over.
All right, let's talk about the first knock on the door, because we all have a little bit different feeling about this. Okay. I am not totally, absolutely, they knock on the door, say, go away. Okay. I'm not there, because if you do that, and I have seen it happen, they prepare a petition, they go behind your back, they put the allegations in the petition, and then they put a paragraph in there that says the parents refuse to cooperate. And then the judge will rip those kids out of your home in a hot minute, right? Okay, so what is a better way to do that? And I know a lot of people out there, and a lot of TikTok people are like, don't open the door, don't open the door, don't open the door. I'm not totally there. My thing is, number one, you get your cell phone out, right? And you turn on your camera. Okay, that is the number one. And some people hold it down. Like my one client, she turned it on, but she just kind of held it down beside her. I say, no. Hold it up.
In the face, right in the face.
Well, just hold it up in front of you so you can see what you're recording, and they can see that you're recording. Okay, just hold it up there. Now, then you ask them questions when they knock on your door and they say, we're here to investigate. At the door, before you let them in, before you do anything, you say, I'm entitled to know what the allegations are. Please tell me what the allegations are. Okay, so that's number one. Record, and you ask the question. You say, you please tell me your name and tell me why you're here and tell me what the allegations are. That's the first thing to do. Number two, they probably will say something like, well, because, when I first confronted them with this, I said, what are the allegations? You have to tell me. And they would go like, well, the allegation is that, the child was left alone at 3 p.m., blah, 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 blah. Okay. So then then I would say, okay, we'll address those allegations. Then they got weird. Okay, so then they're like, okay, the allegations are psychological. Okay, so then they wouldn't tell you the details. They'd just say, oh, physical abuse, oh, psychological abuse, and you have to confront them. You have to say, okay, I understand that. Explain to me what those allegations are so I can address them with you, right? So you have to kind of push back on that, but it has to be recorded. Every single bit of it has to be recorded. And secondly, is under most states, most statutes, when they commence an investigation, they have to see the child. Okay, they have to see the child. Doesn't mean they have to examine the child, but I have had people told them, like, bring the child up to the doorway and let them see the child. Let them see the child. Okay. And so that way you have cooperated with the investigation and you have let them see the child. Those are the two statutory things that they are required to do. And if you don't do them, they're going to go get an order to take your child away. So, so that is my recommendation. And then, but then if they want to go further, I recommend that you say, if it's not, you can ask them what the priority is of the investigation. So they have to prioritize the investigation. It's a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay. A 4 is like 5 days, right? Like whenever they get around to it. A 3 is like 72 hours. A 2 is like 48 hours or 24 hours. And a 1 is like immediately, right? Like this requires some immediate response. So you can ask them, okay, so tell me how this has been prioritized. And so they tell you it's a 2. So if it's a 2, you say, all right, so I will meet you someplace where with an attorney that we can have a further interview if you need a further interview, or I'll give you a list of witnesses to call. And you tend to them like, look, I want to help you with the investigation to the extent I can, but I want to make sure that you have all the proper information. People have got to approach it more educated, and it's frightening. I get it. I've had cops show up on my house. People have made allegations against me, right, just to retaliate against me, and they show up at the door, and I show up with a camera. Tell me why you're here. And, in my case, they decided that it wasn't worth it to them. And so, they didn't want to go on camera. So they're like, well, we'll get back with you or something, and they left.
Right.
But that's what I say when you get the knock at the door.
Yeah, I would never searched the statutes of what they are, because I knew that they are required. When they get a call, they are required to go to your house and check on you, right? Like that's the requirement. They have to do that. It's one of the things that they have to do. They don't have to do anything else, but they do have to go into your house and answer that call that you were given.
Yeah, they do.
So they have to come to your house.
What's that?
You said they come into the house. No.
No, they have to come to
They can come to your house.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what they have to do by the rules, by the law, right? The law says that they have to do it. But the second one is they have to see your kid. Is that what you're saying? That you have to see the child?
Yeah, and these are statutory provisions that are provided in the code. For the investigation, they have to go to the residence of the where the child lives, and it's not real clear. Like, it doesn't say they have to do a home inspection. It doesn't say, they have to go through your refrigerator or anything like that. But they need to see the child. So that is part of the statute. Now, and I'll tell, there's other ways. So let's say they say it's environmental neglect or lack of food, I mean, there's other ways to do it. You can tell them, you can say, look, I'm not going to let you come in the house, but you can, everybody has freaking cell phones now that are smartphones. You can, call them on Google Meet, or you can go through and do a video of your house and bring it back and show it to them. I'll tell you, there was I better not say, I had a situation where somebody was haunting and stalking my daughter, made complaints, but I bet she would probably be upset if I got into the details of that. But basically, of course I was there all the step along the way and I covered everything in advance. So,
Mhm.
but they tried to do that trick on me. I
Mhm.
had made an appointment for the children to go, talk to a therapist. They went and got an ex parte order and shut down my therapist, even after I told them they could come in and inspect our home. So, and I shouldn't, and I was too honest with them. I should have just taken them to the therapist and not even told them, right?
Right.
So, but no, but then then ultimately they would back off from that. But yeah, they even tried it on me.
Mhm.
So that's,
So
they love these secret orders. They love, and look, there is no other area in law that they can do this kind of thing, where they can go get, if you don't pay for your car and they want to come and, of course, with your car, they can just come and pick up your car. But let's say, they want to get a restraining order on let's say, I don't know, something else that they want to pick up something and that you have, whatever, a riplevin. So somebody says he's got my lawnmower, right? And they
Mhm.
can go to court and they can get a riplevin order to go pick up your lawnmower, but there has to be a hearing on it and they have to put down
Right.
the facts. And if they lie in that, they're in trouble. So,
Mhm.
but these CPS workers never get in freaking trouble for lying.
But but let's shift gears here. This new administration and some people that are working in Washington are trying to put forth changes for all this stuff, right? So what do we have coming down the pike?
Okay, good. I'm glad. Yeah, let's dive into there because I would love to be in this administration. And I have really wrapped my head around it really hard, thought about it logistically, how to make it happen, how to get to Washington. Family Forward Project now, we basically have access to an apartment there. So the logistics of being there and actually even working there is feasible. So I put together a resume. I've already talked to some people, and I have a plan. And I don't think I have it. I don't have it printed out here with me, but the first part of the plan is I'm talking too long here. Evaluations or assessments. That's not what the word I want. We want to look at their money, right? So we want to do an OIG. We want to do an investigation on the funds, the money. Are they really using the money properly, right? So I know I was talking to some people on a live this morning about the code. So there is in the CFR, which is the Code of Federal Regulations, it says in here for Title 4E in foster care, if you don't comply with Title 4E, or if you have a bad services review, your funding can be pulled. Okay, you can pull the funding. And now, this is so important for people to understand. Listen to me on this. CAPTA, we all now know in the CPS world, we know what CAPTA is, Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, 1974, was reauthorized again, reauthorized most recently. The last reauthorization was 2010. It was supposed to be reauthorized in 2020 or 2022. It did not pass. Okay. CAPTA is expired. CAPTA expired in September 2023. And we have been up there talking to them about it, and they patched it together with a resolution to continue the funding. President Trump could stop the funding with an executive order because there is no longer any congressional authorization for the disbursement of the funding. So we could cut it off altogether. Secondly, is an audit. That's the word I was trying to think of. Thank you very much. We need to have it audited. So there needs to be an audit of these agencies and what are the critical areas: wrongful removals and wrongful retentions, and then wrongful denial of kinship placement, because we are not focusing on rehabilitating. Now, I was pulling some other information this morning about undocumented migrants, undocumented children, undocumented adults through ORR, which is the Office of Refugee Resettlement. The government, our tax dollars, when I say the government, I always like to say our tax money. So our tax money is paying out $3,000 per person to house and settle refugees. Tax-free money, okay? After working 50 years, I finally get Social Security check. And you know what? It's not even $3,000. And I have to pay taxes on that. So they are giving away our money to refugees at $3,000 a month. Plus they have access to medical care. Plus they have access to food stamps. Okay. How many families would be stabilized with $3,000 a month?
Facts.
Almost everybody.
Almost everybody is the correct answer. Thank you very much.
That's the facts. Mhm.
Yeah. So we have the ability now. We need to audit the agencies. We need to rewrite CAPTA, and there are some things in CAPTA that need to be done, which is the financial incentive, the perverted incentives need to be abolished. And then we need to look at what are the real reasons for removal, what are the precursor events, what are happenings to our families that are causing children to be removed, so that we can rehabilitate our families. And we'll have a much stronger nation if we can stop this ridiculousness of family destruction by our own government. And I know there's a lot of Title IV-D people out there. I feel you. I understand. I totally agree. Title IV-D needs to be abolished as well. But I am full at my bandwidth. I have to keep my bridge narrow. I need somebody to step up to do the Title IV-D like I do the Title IV-E and B.
Well, that's where our guest the other day, Mr. Mark Ludwig, right? Ludwig.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where his fight was, right? Tiffany, was that what he was saying? That's his go thing, and he's gunning for that. He wants that 4D stuff gone. So hopefully he rivals up and holds up to that, because you do quite a bit with the 4E stuff, for no doubt. Let me ask you this: if you are, and this is kind of because I want to go more into the Trump stuff too, but if they take reunification off the board, they're not supposed to receive any more funding for 4E, right? That should be it, right? It's wiped out, because doesn't 4E say if reunification's off the table, then you get no more money?
I'll have to look at the state plan requirements again on that. But you know what they do now? They call it a dual goal from the very beginning, almost. Well, 4 months into it, they'll call it a dual goal, reunify or adoption, right? So that's how they get around that.
Yeah, bastards.
I think once they change education to termination, I think that's where that private adoption money comes in. If that I work with, but you're right. We do need to get the laws changed. In Virginia, I'm only 60 miles from DC, but you're very brave, because every day I turn the news on, I'm hearing about it down there. But anyway, one of the laws that passed here in Virginia in 2022, I think, because we all know kinship and fictive kin are supposed to. Because of my daughter's case, I'm makers from they must are required to place the child with fictive or kin, and if CPS turns down any of those, they have ways to give an answer to the Board of Social Services, whatever it is, and it has to be good not to be placed with kin. Other law we got changed is they had 33 pages of barrier crimes. You must strike almost all those barrier crimes for fictive kin and kin if they are not if they are
Wow.
Yeah, those are. Plus, I'm with the NAACP here. I'm the legal redress. Worked with our people, and now on a parental rights bill here. But the see that in line, and I think it's because Scott from South Carolina has put one on the Senate floor.
Okay, so be very careful with parental rights legislation because we already have parental rights. And if we put it into a code, we are at risk of that code being hacked up, right? Even if not now. In Tennessee, they put together a parental rights bill, and I lobbied against it in part because they defined a parent as a custodian or guardian appointed by the court. And so that right there strips your parental rights totally, right? Because, you know, um, because the court can decide who the parent is, right? And that's not correct. So be very careful with your parental rights bill. And also in the Tennessee bill, it said you have parental rights except for this circumstance, this circumstance, this circumstance, this circumstance, except when blah, 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 blah. And one of those is quote unquote law enforcement involvement. It doesn't even say an investigation. It doesn't say on probable cause of a crime. It just says law enforcement involvement. And then you lose all your parental rights. That you can't object. It still lets them go talk to your kid at school. It, takes away all your consent. So you have to be very careful with parental rights legislation. We really need probably a
Shouldn't have said that. A parental Miranda rights. That's what we're working on. Show up and they're going to arrest you. That's what we're working on. But the parental rights bill is insane. And I've read it. It doesn't have all that. What it says is the government cannot hear. And you can sue them if they remove your children.
Okay, just read it very carefully. I'm just telling you because there is a nonprofit called Alliance Defending Freedom that's going around pushing their parental rights bill. So just
what is that? Alliance Defending Freedom?
Alliance Defending Freedom.
Yeah, I've never.
Well, you remember the case out of Colorado, the wedding cake case, where the man who refused to do the wedding cake for the gay couple and he got sued. So Alliance Defending Freedom, that's how they became popular, was that case. But it is run by Michael Ferris, and Michael Ferris started the Homeschool Defense Alliance, and he left that to do Alliance Defending Freedom. They get tons of money. Michael Ferris makes $1 million a year as his role of Alliance Defending Freedom. And they're a predatory law firm, basically. I hate to say this because I know they won't like me for saying this, but they are out stalking parents in Tennessee on Facebook to try to engage them, to hire them for lawsuits for just simple violations where the parents may not get any money, but they get attorney's fees. So please look at the parental rights bills with high skepticism. Because you say, you can sue them. Okay, right, you can sue them. What attorney's going to take that case? I mean, let's get real. We're trying to get out of the court. We're trying to get families out of the court system, not back in the court system, right?
Right. Absolutely.
But it would make it easier for that one. Go ahead, Darren.
What's the Trump administration saying? What are they talking about? What do you hear them saying? What's the buzz with them?
Okay, so the only there's so much, of course, as you can see, going on that's just being shed and revealed and pulled back and tipped over every day right now. Right. The only thing I've heard the talk about children much at all is the RFK confirmation hearings. They did talk about the missing migrant children. They did, of course, there's a lot of discussion there with children and vaccines and high acuity rates for children, et cetera, which is part of the reason that children are removed. So I think that, Robert F. Kennedy has a very, very big job in front of him. But I think that if we can get to him and push through to him, that he will take this as a serious issue as well.
That's what our goal is for the February 14th event. That's what we're excited for here, for our message to them. Because, again, someone's got to get through to them that it's the day-to-day people that are really being affected by CPS. It's the child a minute that's getting taken by them that no one's talking about, which it's crazy to me because, if I don't even know what more do you need to bring out in front of people to say this? Is it because people are so scared that they're so scared of having their own kids taken that they go to this? I know we said this at the beginning of the show, but it's like you can catch CPS, like people abandon you, people go away from this. They don't even defend this with a 10-foot pole, but you just talked about the migrant children. Oh, well, we have 85,000 of them missing at the border. Where did they go? Okay, where's the 400,000 that just left the American people's homes last year? But no one's saying a word about this. So what do we
And
have to
they're
do
not
to
very well, and not only are they not very well documented, their locations in foster care, but honestly, these people who adopt these children out of foster care, we have no idea where they are. We have no idea. We
how
have
many,
no.
Connie? How many are missing right now?
Well, the U.S. Marshal and the NCMEC report put out that they put out about a year and a half ago. They showed over a year's period of time, 33,000 foster kids went missing. But they also put in that same report that 70% of the child sex abuse came from foster care. So, I mean, those are pretty substantial numbers. And at the migrant children, they say they don't know. I've heard 300,000, I've heard 85,000, I've heard 500,000. I mean, I think we know where some of those kids are because I think the money's attached to them somewhere. However, what's more critical, I think we know where they went. I don't think we know how they are. In other words, what is their well-being like? Because I think these children are being trafficked for labor and for sex. So we don't know what their well-being is, and that's going to take a real push to uncover all of that. I mean, we do have to admit that human trafficking in the United States, whether it's for sex or labor, is a huge, huge industry. And the people who call it out are probably going to be at risk of being suicided themselves, right? Because of the critical nature of it. And, the cartels control a lot of that as well.
It's just, I mean, if people
Wow.
could just hear what you just said, it would take their breath away. Just to hear that, like maybe that's the message, because people get their mindset that CPS, good, parent, bad, kid, safer, better place. And we know that this isn't true. That's
Right.
not what's happening at all,
Yeah. So,
that's
yeah. So our legislation, I don't know if this will be backwards when I hold it up or not, but our legislation that we pushed for in DC was for a family advocate. Okay, I'm gonna put this. Okay, so we are pushing to get a family advocate bill. It got introduced last year, HR 8866. It did not pass last year, so we have to get it meetings. But we're asking that family advocates who are educated through the training that we're doing are able to participate with parents at all stages of the legal and administrative process. And if we can do that, we will reduce it. And what I tell them in Congress is I think we can reduce foster care by a third easy if we just have people better prepared and more educated and really look for resources for families.
where do we get those resources? How do people become an advocate?
Well, so we're doing that. We're in the process of that training. I'm doing the training through the Family Forward Project. And so, for the people that are watching who want to know where I am the rest of the time when I'm not with you, I do have built a Facebook group. There's about 19,000 plus. Facebook, we're up to 27,000, and Facebook chopped a lot of our people out. So we have about 19,000 families across the U.S., and we do the training through there. And I put them up also on a YouTube channel called Family Forward. I also am putting together the Family Forward Project website where they'll be posted as well. And then I do have them also on a blog page where the links are all there together. So you can do 1 through 15. The trainings are from an hour to about an hour and a half. And it's really the Connie Reguli brain dump. So you will have one. I've worked very, very, very hard to isolate topics and make them understandable, kind of the legal aspect for dummies. So we talk about evidence and what is evidence. We talk about preparing witnesses for trial. We talk about authentication of records. This past Sunday, we talked about Americans with Disabilities Act, which is huge, and we need to apply it more. So so that advocates can be trained. Now, when I talk to Congress, they say, well, who are these advocates? And I say to them, who are these foster parents? Like, you don't even know who foster parents are. You don't have to have any qualifications to be a foster parent. You go through a training course. They say it's 30 hours. I don't even think it's 30 hours anymore. You go through a training course and you're a foster parent, and you do a background check. Like, who's a CASA worker? You don't have to do anything special. You have 30 hours of training and you're a CASA worker, and you can dig right into the cases. So as long as we have that base training, which is what I'm really putting together, but we have to have the federal law to be able to participate because of the confidentiality requirements under federal law.
All right.
So if people take your course, do they get a certificate at the end of it?
Well, so we haven't developed the certificate yet because I don't have the full course up. So, my first set of courses is 15. I have 12 of them up. We have 3 more we're going to do on just this broad intro course. And then I'm going to do another series, just really kind of focusing on the areas of competence, which will be, for instance, ethics, understanding ethics, how you should behave ethically. Another one will be confidentiality. So we're just going to talk just about confidentiality. So there's about 15 to 18 courses there. I would like to have up to 50, but if we can get 40 hours of training, I think that, we can do an initial certificate on that.
So I hope everybody gets on your course. I know I'll be taking it as time because I'm busy too, just like.
Well, so if you look either on Family Forward Project or on the Word page, which the Word page is also put up on Family Forward Project, and it's a featured post. If you go to that, I have uploaded audios. So if it's easier for you just to put on the audio, right, while you're cleaning or doing this or doing that, you're not going to get quite as much of it because you will miss, in front of you. But you can listen to the audio. And, I said the other day, some people, audio is almost a little bit better for them because it is so technical when I'm saying it. And then when you're trying to read it, there's a little bit, your brain gets like this, right? Because your brain's trying to read it and your brain's trying to listen to me. So it's actually easier for some people to just listen to it first. So you can listen on, and I think you'll find it very valuable. And plus, you want to send your people to see it. You want to send parents to go watch it.
Absolutely.
These parents, they need it. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, as long as it's good information, because we talk about that too. Information, because not all of it is good.
Well, mine's good. You can trust me on that.
Awesome. Hey,
guys, you wouldn't be on here if we didn't trust you.
we're at our point. You got anything else,
Reputation maintain.
Do we have anything else, Tiff?
No,
but
I want to thank you very much. I want you guys to keep up the good work.
Well,
yeah, Connie, do you mind if we attach your? Do you mind if we attach your stuff to our YouTube channel?
No, that'd be great.
All right, yeah, we'll put your Family Forward stuff in there, and then we'll do that. But yeah, all right, guys, we're gonna head out of here. Thank you, Connie, so much for being with us, and I'm gonna end it with a song tonight. So you guys have a good one, and ladies, till next time, we'll talk to you soon, Connie.
The stories of our families once told by the ones on front.
Don't medicate, just meditate. You waking up now, well baby, you hella late. Educate, look at what's going on, let it resonate, accelerate. Find your inner hunger like you never ate. Agenda is to push the hate. Separate and segregate, don't celebrate quite yet. The storm is coming, cue for heaven's sake. Violence that they demonstrate, instigate and penetrate the values of our country. And our God is what they desecrate. My fighters ain't no featherweight, pulling out the seams of the fabric that they fabricate. They feed us lies, manipulate, intimidate through fear and force, forcing us to sit and wait till we come together, congregate, and then we liberate. Praying that you give me strength to find some love amongst the hate. Marching on the streets of blood, till I see the golden gates. Troubadour, troubled souls, one of God's servants. Blades out, cut the grass till we see the serpents.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show, it stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
I know the truth is hard to swallow, just digest it. Suspected something's going on, chosen just neglected, deflected by some breaking news. Oh, we just accept it, expected just to fall in line and follow their perspective. Don't question their objectives, but I got a lot of questions. How these kids molested, but nobody's been arrested. Read it in the testament, these children are protected. So I'm fighting all these terrorists, both foreign and domestic. Refuse to be directed, lying not a sheep. Only kneel to my God, so I'm dying on my feet. Silence when we speak, but there's violence in the street. I've been rolling with the punches, I can't take it on the cheap. Nah, drink from a glass half full, I'm optimistic. People are sadistic, so vicious and malicious. Praying for assistance to overcome opposition, or I'm gonna start resisting.
Hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now. We need you now. Oh, we need you now. One day. The truth. This puppet show, it stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
Imagine being a child who has been torn away from their security blanket, their parents, the ones who stop the boogeyman from terrorizing the nights and curing their boo-boos when they scrape their knees. Now just imagine how they might'st feel when the CPS meant to protect them tears them away from their supposed abusers and places them with strangers who have zero comforting skills. They need to be calm. They are confused, lost, panicked, and needing their parents, but CPS took them away for the purpose of saving them. The kids don't even know why, and they are told that the parents they attach to no longer want them. What do you think that does? Do you think that this is how protecting children is supposed to look? Abolish CPS.
Our courts are contaminated with young, inexperienced caseworkers and polluted with bribes, high-priced bonuses for speedy adoption of terminated parents, and judges who don't practice law with the Constitution in their sights. This is a problem.
They take away the fathers, leaving just a mom and cubs. They know that with that out the way, the better things will go. Breaking apart the family, destroying the American way. Our legacy is built upon our families of yesterday. Fuck CPS, fuck CPS, fuck what they doing. Fuck CPS, they need to be ruined. It's all about the division of family services. You hear that the division, that's what they about. They prey upon the family, the ones that the dad's been kicked out. We can't stand for this abomination. This is the song that needs to play across our once great nation, making us aware of the problem. Stealing our kids, it's not mama drama. Stand up for those who are lost to them. We need to fight for the family, making America great again. CPS comes along with the mission to protect. The only thing they are doing is cashing in those checks, paid for by the souls of the children, diagnosed by a caseworker who is still a baby herself. They take away the fathers, leaving just a mom and cubs. They know that with that out the way, the better things will go. Breaking apart the family, destroying the American way. Our legacy is built upon our families of yesterday. Fuck CPS, fuck what they doing. Fuck CPS, they need to be ruined. It's all about the division of family services. You hear that the division, that's what they about. They prey upon the family, the ones that the dad's been kicked out. We can't stand for this abomination. This is the song that needs to play across our once great nation, making us aware of the problem. Stealing our kids, it's not mama drama. Stand up for those who are lost to them. We need to fight for the family, making America great again.